everyone, and welcome to the Tony Tompkins Show. Glad you could be with us. Hopefully there'll be a lot of people coming online today to talk about an issue that concerns you and I. In this particular case, it's One Nation. And I've got Avery with me as well. I'll just introduce him to you in just a moment. But before we do all that, I do need to ask you all to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for further notifications. Let me know that you care. It's really nice, and lets the algorithm know that you also care, which is fantastic. So one of the things that I have done is I've put up a poll, and at the moment I have 6 votes. Will the election of One Nation candidate improve the lives of Australians? I think it'll probably improve Pauline Hanson's life, but that's about the only person I know of whose life it will benefit. So let us know what you think in the poll. And as always, I will read out the poll at the end. And also, we're going to encourage you, if you don't mind, to concentrate on super chats. Press the thanks button down below and give us some money for perhaps a cup of coffee or whatever, because that money goes to Avery for his assistance today, because no one gets paid for this. So we would appreciate any considerations you have in that regard. And particularly if you do put in a super chat, we will respond to that. And please put a comment in as well, because we want to make sure that your comments are recognised if you're contributing financially to this endeavour. So the thing we're going to be talking about today primarily is a range of issues, but primarily we're going to be talking about One Nation and the impact that One Nation is having on the Australian population generally. So the way we view what's happening with regard to One Nation, how it is likely to impact the polls. We're going to be talking a little bit about the South Australian poll, which is in March the 21st. And I do need to say about that Nathan Ogilvie and myself will be doing a live feed on that particular night, just commenting about the landslide, which will be the Labor Party and the demise of the Liberal Party, potentially. So make sure you tune into that as well. We'll be receiving further notification about all of that when it happens. So thanks very much also for, oh, good God, Sandra, thank you for the $10. Really, well, off the mark. Oh, I'm a bit overwhelmed by that, and Avery will be extremely grateful for it. I could assure you. We'll talk to him in just a moment. So please, comments, I will refer, because I'm with Avery today, I will have a greater opportunity just to go through your comments as they're made. I really want to hear from you, or we want to hear from you in relation to what you think about One Nation's surge in the polls. Will it affect you and I? Are there issues around One Nation that concern you? Are there issues around One Nation that you think you could celebrate, that are perhaps encouraging, that make you think a little bit different about politics? Or do you think generally people have chosen to vote for One Nation simply because they're dissatisfied with the election, with the two-party type system that we have, even though we don't. We have multiple parties, but nevertheless, it's the two major parties. And also, on top of all of that, what do you think the Liberal Party are doing that could either assist them in the polls, or what do you think they're doing that won't assist them? And I've got a bit about that. I've got a bit of a video from Angus Taylor as well, talking about hating people. So what do you think? Let me know, and I'll bring in Avery. Good to see you, mate. Glad that you could be with us again today. And already we've got $10 to your retirement fund.
I saw that. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, it's been a busy day for me today. We've spent all morning down at the Royal Adelaide Hospital. As I think I've said in the past, Sasha had an eye infection. She's been treated for that since middle of December. And the doc said today that everything's cleared up. She's still got some, he wants to see her again in 2 months' time to make sure that it's all good.
Good.
Yeah, so she's right now. She's really tired. She's gone to bed. I mean, she's
well,
not.
Sash doesn't stay awake and listen to us ramble.
Oh no, she probably gets bored by
it. She's probably had enough of that from you anyway. Yeah. Okay, so and just send her our love as always. So I'm just wondering whether or not you could start with, Avery, your version of where you think One Nation are, whether you think that this is a helpful aspect of the political system in Australia. I'll bring up some data, and we've talked about that pre-show, so I'll bring up some data in a moment that will discuss that in greater detail. But just generally, what's your view around all of that right at this particular point in time?
I think the major reason that One Nation has risen the way they have is because of the low quality of the candidates and the MPs that the Liberals and the Nationals have produced. I think it's as simple as that, because I don't believe that we do have our own crop of racists in this country, but I don't think 24% of the population are racist.
I haven't actually. I've got to confess, I haven't thought of that before.
Yeah.
That notion, in fact, that that idea, I guess, that that there's a degree of, because it does make you wonder about what are the caliber of candidates. I think it's a really good question to ask.
Yeah.
Are they suitable? What sort of candidates do we expect? We don't hold politicians in very high esteem anyway.
No.
So, you know, is it just generally that we just don't like people that stand for politics, or do people that stand for politics? It's a really great question, mate. I haven't thought about that before.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think?
I think that the people in general don't like politicians.
Yeah.
I think that somebody who wants to be prime minister should be banned from the job. Right?
All politicians would be banned if that's.
Oh, no,
if that's the.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't, because you get people like Mark Dreyfus, who when they had the last Labour election for the leader, I thought Dreyfus would make a good leader. He wasn't interested, so they're not all like that. But those that want it, I think maybe we should think about saying, nah. You want it that bad? No.
Let's get somebody. So where do you see? Okay. Where do you see candidates not? So do we see candidates who aren't performing? I mean, all we know about candidates are what they say, and usually that's along political lines or a specific political ideology. So from that, how can we define whether someone is a good candidate or not? How do you know? You know,
that is a good question as well. So that's a good question as well. I mean, what my experience over 55 years, 60 years, is that people they vote for Labour because, I've always voted Labour. They vote for the Conservative side, the right-wing side, because I've always done it. Dad did, that sort of thing. Yeah. How many people actually look at the policies, read the policies that they're talking about? That they don't. So they don't really know what that politician is like. They hear the weasel words that they mouth when they're in front of when they've got a TV camera in front of them. But when if they go along to a town hall sort of thing, what they hear in the town hall is completely different to what he was just saying, or she was just saying on that television speech. So which is the right person? Which thing do they truly believe?
Yeah. So are you saying that they fluctuate between certain views that they might have in one media, and then when they're out in the open, particularly town hall? We don't have many town halls here in South Australia. I want you to know, a very Americanized version of politics.
Doesn't have to be, when your MP has a meeting to meet up with the constituents, what he'll say in public in front of the camera is very often different to what he'll say to you when you're in that meeting. Yeah. And that, I'm sure, turns people off.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? So, okay. So what candidate? So it's a question to ask everybody, really. So what do you expect from a candidate? So we've got one where Sandra says a good candidate is one who iterates policies where inclusion and address, I think she's saying. But certainly a good candidate is one that developed, that has enthusiastic, I guess, about the policies that we need to see. I guess the question here, Avery, that we're asking is, firstly, we don't know who the candidates are for One Nation to start with. Apart from Pauline Hanson, Bernardi, and Barnaby Joyce, and perhaps, Roberts and others that are already in the Senate. But apart from them, we don't know who those candidates are. So people are not voting for a candidate, are they? No. At this particular point, particularly the South Australian election, which is 21 to 25 days away or something. Yeah. So people have to vote. Have to vote for, or telling the polls at least that they prefer One Nation that they're going to vote for, primarily because of Pauline Hanson, not because of the candidates.
It could also be that they're voting for One Nation because they can't bring themselves to vote for that Labour guy.
Oh, could be. But I would also put this to you. That most people wouldn't know who the friggin' Labor guy was in their electorate either. Yeah. And had they had any attachment to or association with that particular person? I doubt it. I really do. So people are still. I still think. I'm sort of challenging your view here. I don't think people firstly know who their member is, and secondly, because they don't know who their member is, they don't know what they're thinking about any particular policy, and people are just voting for the concept or the ideology that a party has more than anything else.
The other thing about candidates that's just occurred to me is what Sandra was saying about a good candidate. Another thing that makes a candidate good is not only can they talk about the policy, but they understand what the policy is, and they're able to articulate that instead of just talking in generalities. If you ask a politician a question that's relevant to you, if you know what I mean, that they're able about a particular policy and how it's relevant to you, and they're able to answer that. That would be, to me, is a sign of a good politician. Somebody who was like that was Margaret Thatcher, and another one was her successor, John Major. They were both really good at doing that.
Okay, and everybody's trying to wonder which country are we talking about, but okay, so I can accept that as well. But the question still remains. I'd like people to respond to it. What do you think? And thanks, Sandra, for your response. That was good. What makes a good candidate? And I'll ask this question of all of you: can you name your local candidate? Just off the top of your head, can you say this is my candidate? Because there's a good chance very few of you can. I mean, a lot of people that are on our comment section on my channel probably do. They're pretty well informed politically. But just generally, do you think your next door neighbour and your friends and your relatives could do that? Probably not. So then one has to ask, what are you voting on? What is it that motivates people to vote? What motivates them to say, I'm for One Nation? What is the motivation? And I'll bring up that
before you do
chart we talked about.
Early on, Elizabeth Cook asked a question. She says, which I think it's important to answer. She says she doesn't understand how giving a donation works. Is it via credit card, for example? Sorry, I'm dumb about this.
Yeah, put yourself in the picture, Avery.
You're not dumb, Elizabeth. You just don't know. That does not make you dumb. All you do is...
Avery, can I just ask you to put yourself in frame?
Oh, sorry, yeah. All you do is I was doing that because I haven't got my reading glasses on.
Bring the screen closer. Oh, okay, I'll make it easy for you. I'll put you in guest mode so you can now.
If I put my reading glasses on, I can read it. You're not dumb. That's all. You just at the top you'll see a where is it? There's a button. I'm just trying to think which button it is.
Which one? What are you looking for?
To put the chat on, to make the donation.
On the thanks, just thanks down the bottom of the page.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's on where the chat is, where you type in your message. There's three icons to the right of it. One's a smiley face, another's a heart, but it's the one in the middle. You just click on that, and it'll ask you for a credit card. I think you could use a debit card as well if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I think if somebody is keen to encourage us by donating a bit of cash, we should encourage them by explaining how to do it.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so you were saying though.
No, you were going to show a graph.
I am, and what's more, I will.
Yeah. Good.
So when we have a look at this graph here, I have to move it up and down because it doesn't fit quite on my screen. It does if I do this. So we've got Labor. This is a South Australian poll just taken the other day. So this tells us where that election's at. So 44% is Labor, 14% is Liberal, and the Greens is 12%. And then we've got One Nation at 24%. So this is quite an impressive poll, simply because it says at the moment that Labor will wipe out the Liberal Party, basically, and the Greens probably will not get a seat either. So the question I'm asking Avery today, and I want everybody to think about, does this mean that we could potentially have, this is quite humorous, does it mean that we could potentially have a government, sorry, I'll put it differently, does it mean we could have a one-party government? Like, can it mean that the House does not have any opposition whatsoever? Is that possible? So there are, I don't know how many seats there are, 47 seats or something?
47 seats. It has happened in history before, but not in this country. It's happened twice in Canada. When around about 1935, Prince Edward Island, it's only got about 20 people in its government, all went to one party. And then in New Brunswick in the 1940s, I think it was, where they've got about 35 people in their government, it all went to one particular party. So it has happened, and it could potentially happen here.
It's never happened in Australia, though, to this point.
No, that's what I said. It has happened somewhere around the world in a free and fair election, because obviously you've got a one-party country like China. That doesn't count.
Or Russia, where they get 90% of the vote.
Yeah, but in a country like Australia where they've got free and fair elections, it's never the only place it's happened that I know of is Canada, where it happened twice, 80, 90 years ago.
And so just going back to this
on that graph, that's the thing I was going to say. With that graph there, can you put that back up? With that thing there, the thing that the blue and green bits tell me. Sorry, what's the grey one?
There's no grey one. There's the One Nation there. Oh, there is too. There's it's so tiny I can hardly see it. Others 6%. So they're not far behind. Oh no, the Greens are on 12.
The others, that would be people like the party that we used to have, the Child Protection Party, would be the others. It would be the independent candidates. Looking at the numbers that the Greens and the Liberals have got, they'll be able to hold their after this election on the 21st. They'll be able to hold their caucuses on the back of a motor scooter.
Yeah,
I can see there's a podcast called the Sloan Zone. That's where that graph came from. And he
had it on there, but this is actually from the Australian.
That's where I saw the graph. Right?
Yeah.
I saw that graph on the Sloan Zone, the podcast. I put the link to that podcast in here, and in there he says exactly the same thing, that he can see, because of those numbers that Pauline Hanson's getting with One Nation, he can see that the Labour Party wins the vast majority of the seats, like 41 seats, something like that, and the other 5 or 6 that are left will go to the others, to independents, not to the Liberals, not to the Greens, and not to One Nation. Because he was saying, like Nathan said last week, or the week before, Nathan was saying that that he thinks the One Nation vote will be spread across the poll across all the electorates, and they're not concentrated in places where they'll win sufficient of the first preference votes to win the seat, even when preferences come in.
Yeah, and if One Nation's going to win any votes, they're likely to be out of suburbs or country areas anyway. Yeah. It's likely to be in suburban areas. So, okay. So what does the government?
The Sloan Zones podcast, they say about that in the country areas where you'd think that One Nation are going to do better, the independents, because you're still going to get people voting for the country party, the National Party, the Liberal Party in those country areas, and then you've got the other right-wing party, One Nation, and with the votes being spread across those, he thinks that's what's going to let the independents into the big rural constituencies.
Yeah,
which is why he's saying he thinks that the South Australian Legislative Assembly will be like 41 Labor and 5 or 6 others.
Yeah,
who are not members of the major parties.
So when it comes though to who do you think would be the better premier, I just noticed that it was Peter Malinowski, 67% wipeout, uncommitted 14%, because there's only 2 people to choose from. Because this is the problem that One Nation have. They don't have a leader. They don't have a leader in the lower house who could probably become premier anyway. So it's a really mute question, I think, as to who should be premier.
Well, Malinowski is wildly popular here. Yeah. I mean, in the last election, I wrote to Malinowski. I wrote to the other, who was a Marshall, and asked them the same question: what were they going to do about all the homeless people in South Australia? Within 2 days, I got an answer from Malinowski. It's nearly 4 years ago, and I still haven't had an answer from Marshall. I'm never going to get an answer from Marshall. Malinowski did it, and then within about 3 weeks of him winning the election, he announced the plans that he'd said to me in the reply. I'm not saying it's Peter Malinowski himself that replied, but the answer that came back from the Labour Party from his office about how they were going to repair this number of houses, demolish those, build a bunch more, and things like that. All the things that he said, they kicked him off, and they're still working on them right now. And he said, "This is what I'm going to do." He then went and did it. He's a shoo-in for my vote this time round as well.
Right, so I'm delighted to hear that you're not voting One Nation. I wanted to bring us to some of the issues, though, that have played.
Me voting for Trump.
Yeah, that'd be true. So, in this particular article, though, it says we need to remind it that David Spears quit amid a cocaine scandal in 2023, over which he pleaded guilty to drug supply charges, and his successor, Vincent Tazier, resigned in December last year amid shocking internal polling, leaving 32-year-old first-term Ashton Hearn with just 15 weeks to ready the party. So they were a disaster from the beginning. During this term, Liberals also lost 2 historic by-elections in which former leaders' seats were snared by the ALP. I mean, you just want to wonder how worse this gets. The opposition has also been plagued by infighting between the moderate-dominated Parliamentary Party and the surge of Conservative Party members loyal to Senator Alex Antic and Mount Gambier-based federal MP Tony Pazin. So the issue also is, I think, that they are a mess, kind of a bit like Victoria in a way.
Yeah.
And because, you know, to have a product that people believe in, you need people that believe in the product. And it seems to me that there's nobody in the Liberal Party who believe in themselves, and they're just being inundated with corruption. And I just want to thank Homemade gave us $20, and Multiphone gave us 5. So thank you very much. I think it was James Paradonis. Sorry, James. Thank you very much. What will happen to one nation? I'll put this up actually because it's very relevant. What will happen to one nation if the older demographic doesn't exist? Because it's not just the older demographic, though, buddy. It's Gen X. It's a lot of people who perhaps haven't voted before, who are in that age group where by now they will. And it's a lot of people, and this is what we need to talk about, Avery. It's a lot of people who are just terribly discontented with the electoral system as it stands right now. And the irony about that is that those people want to have a change. And I understand that. I get that. But a lot of those people haven't been around long enough either to experience what it is like to have the ups and the downs of, prime ministers coming and going and parliaments changing every 4 years and, 3 years or whatever it is. And it's not helpful to do that. And we do need consistency, I believe, and we need to have governments that tend to be reliable.
I've got a question that you might, I don't know the answer to this, you may do. How long has it been that we've had fixed terms in Australia?
Quite a while, I think.
Yeah, I know it has been all the time I've been here.
Yeah, I think we've always had. I think it dropped from. It's now 3 years, isn't it?
3 years.
There's been 3 years for a while. There has been a push for 4 years. Albo wanted to go to 4 years at some particular point.
I think so. Personally, I think they should go to 5. But 3 years is not enough. It's too short a time. All this, what you're saying about the Gen X and that, all these people are saying they don't like the voting system we've got. This the preferential voting system. Find me a better one.
There's no better one.
I've lived in countries where they've got preferential voting, where they got what do they call it in Germany? The single transferable vote, they call it in Germany.
Yep.
And I've lived in the UK where it's a first past the post. I'm glad to say I've never lived in the United States where you can elect
it's a dog's breakfast
rapist, right? Yeah. Never. Well, I mean, we did have a drug dealer leading a party here, as you said, but I've lived in the UK, in Germany, and here, and of the first past the post is a terrible system because you can get a party that wins 35% of the popular vote, and they form the government. The system we've got isn't perfect, but it is far superior to the first past the post. It's better in a lot of ways than the single transferable vote because the single transferable vote, as its name suggests, you get to express one preference, right? Not a whole row of them. So you put a 1 on the paper for the candidate you want and a 2 for the candidate who will. Okay, my first choice can't get in. This one can have it, right? And you end up with governments like pretty stable governments never get gigantic majorities. Margaret Thatcher with 40% of the vote, I think it was, something around there, in 1982 won a 145 seat majority. Just because the votes were in the right places, all the Conservative votes were in the right constituencies, which gave her that gigantic majority. We just won a war in the Falklands as well, which helped her.
But I think the thing about preferential voting, we actually have two different voting systems here in Australia too. Let's not forget that we have preferential voting, proportional representation in the Senate, which is appropriate given its number of senators per state.
We got 2 voting systems as well because the one that we use here in South Australia is different from what they do in Tasmania.
That's right. Well, Tasmania is different in many, many ways. That's just another one of them. But I think Yeah, and there are people around the world who are envious of our voting system. And the other thing to recognise about our voting system is all a paper system. So they get their knickers in a knot about voting machines in the US, whereas in Australia we're old-fashioned, mate. We still do things via paper. So, and I think that our system is something that we should be very proud of, and those people who study those things are proud. So, I just want to go through some of our. Someone says here, "Oh, you like that? Did you see Sandra's?" Sandra says, "You'll like this, mate." If I can find it. Sandra says, "I'm from Liverpool, but please do not praise Margaret Thatcher." I think Avery might take that back now, Sandra.
No, I won't take it back. At the time, I don't think she was a great leader, but she did have some quality. She did tend to do what she said she was going to do, which I think is something that makes a politician better than somebody who says one thing. A prime example is resident in the White House right now. Says one thing, does another.
We might get at the end of this. We might talk about American politics, given the state of the nation last night, but the other day. I just wanted to go to this one. Does it make sense to have a period of time where the losing party and the winning one work together before the new party begins? They work for the same country. I think that's a fascinating notion. And can I just add that recently Angus Taylor decided that he wanted to work. What was the issue over? Balancing the budget. That's right. He wanted to work with the Albanese government over balancing the budget, and it was just flatly refused by Chalmers for obvious reasons, I thought. But the notion is it. So the question there is it possible for parties to work together? Yes, it is. In fact, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Because when they're negotiating legislation, the parties meet together to find out what common ground they can possibly achieve so that they can get the legislation through as best as possible.
In the committees.
In committees, yeah.
The committees are well, they're not bipartisan. It's if you've got in the federal government, for example, the federal parliament, you've got Liberals, Nationals, Labour, Greens, and then you've got the others. And there's going to be the committee is made up of people from each of those groups.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Labour Party having the most seats has the biggest number of seats on the committee.
But sometimes those seats are also chaired by non-government members too.
The other thing is that they sit together, they talk to each other in the committee. What's missing from the committee room generally? A camera.
No, cameras are there.
Camera. What? So that they have everything.
You can watch all of the committees online. All the committee meetings online if you want to.
How long's that been going on? Because I didn't know
for years,
that.
Mate. Probably since the internet was created. Since they discovered they could put cameras in them.
Where do you see it? Where do you see it?
You watch it online. Go to the government portal.
I did not know that. I withdraw what I said. I was just thinking about the way they tend to say one thing, because they're.
Oh, you see. If you look at social media and X in particular, you'll see often comments made that have been taken off the portal. So and the other thing I need to add to that too, I think, is that apart from committees, negotiations do take place. So in terms of that discussion that we were just having, do they have conversations about policies and so forth? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Are they productive? Often not, because they're too set in their ways, or they're just not going to shift. But there is always an effort. I mean, how does the Labor Party negotiate with the Greens, for example, to get something through the Senate? Well, clearly you've got to sit down and have a conversation about that issue. When there's an issue, what was the last one that they did? with regard to, was it the Royal Commission? But they sat down, but it doesn't work always that way, because the Liberal Party decided around the Commission that they were just going to set forth a whole set of rules and regulations and just put them forward. They did not negotiate it. But the best governments, I hasten to add, are those that find ways to negotiate with opposition parties about how they want things to go.
Yeah.
They are the best governments. And unfortunately, I don't think we see enough of that.
No. We've seemed to have had this idea since the 1990s at least, that if that party says it, we're going to oppose it. It doesn't matter how good an idea it is. If the other party proposes it, we oppose it.
Yeah.
I know that in the United States that came from Newt Gingrich in the 1990s.
Yeah.
Maybe we imported it from there. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't know either.
Yeah.
But
there's a post here, a comment here.
Yep.
From JGB. I'll put my reading glasses on. JGB 70. Preferential voting works to an extent if the candidates do not, for highly corrupted reasons, change their mind on who they give their preference to post-election. Well, from when I've been working in elections, you don't get to change your mind on it. It doesn't matter what the candidate says. Once the ballot is in, the how to vote card, the ballots are sorted out, allocated the way the ballot paper is marked. The politician can't come in and say, I did say I was going to give my vote to One Nation, but now instead I want to give it to Liberals. They can't do that because they're not allowed into that room.
No, well, and just the preference. Yeah, so what are you referring to, Avery? You're talking about
JGB 70 says preferential voting works to an extent if the candidates do not, for highly corrupted reasons, change their mind on who they give their preference to post-election. So after the election, he's suggesting that they then say, well, what we said before about where our preferences go, we've changed our mind and they're going to go to this place instead.
Can I just make a point about preferences that we need to be clear about? Preferences are simply placed on how to vote cards.
Yeah.
How people vote when they go in is entirely up to the individual.
Yeah.
There's no influence so what they're basically saying then is so wrong, because there's no influence issued after a vote has been placed. The only person that can determine where their vote goes is the individual who's voting.
Absolutely. And once it's in, once that ballot is in the counting room, there are observers from the different parties in there.
Yeah.
But they are not allowed to talk. They are not allowed to say, "Oh, can you change that preference over there?" Because
no, of course they're not. That is against the law.
Yeah.
We've got one here. We've got one here which I really do appreciate from Watch the Space Media. 3 different voting systems in Australia. There's the ACT and Tasmania have multi-member seats with the hair class system at the state level. So both those systems have the hair clerk system.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware. I know Tasmania does.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure whether the ACT do. And I've tried. I do confess here. I've tried to understand the hair class system, but it's a mathematical dilemma for me. So I haven't been able to grasp it. But it's a far more complicated system. And who knows whether it's fair or not? I just can't answer that. But I do appreciate the attempt there to tell us more about that if you want. So what's the spec media says also?
John Lee Bold 8894. I support preferential voting as it keeps the centre majority deciding. Most people are not on the far right or the far left; they're somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And the preferential voting makes sure that we don't have the Trump-style politics winning.
Yeah, and look, that is a good point too. Yeah, and I think what is also saying here, he or she, I think talking about the above line preferences, well, that's true. People get to above. That's right. So if they do organise preferences above line, so where you just tick one.
Yeah.
And the preferences are allotted by the party prior to that. And thanks for reminding me of that. I had forgotten entirely about that preferential system as well in terms of the Senate. And it only works in the Senate.
Yeah.
So, thanks for reminding me of that. I apologise. You are right. I've heard of it happening. I may have been misinformed. My bad. This is GJ. So thanks, GJ. Right. So any other comments about that? So it's one of the things that we were talking about, which I think we need to consider, and that we started talking about initially, Avery, really is the issue around why people vote the way they do. And we haven't covered this yet really, and that is where one nation sit specifically, given what we were saying before. We don't know who they are, we don't know the candidates, we know very little about them. So are people voting for an ideology? Are they tired of the current system as it stands? Are they younger people because they just have never lived through government after government, change of governments? Are Australians wanting something different from our politicians? What is the real issue? And I would like to start opening this conversation up to you guys, if you don't mind. What are people asking? Why is this? Are they? It could be that they're so disappointed in and disgruntled by the Liberal Party and the Conservatives media that they've decided to turn further and further to the right. Is this really where we're heading? Is it about immigration? Is that the key issue here? Is this the problem, that Australians are generally concerned about the number of people coming in from overseas? Are they concerned about the number of people that are coming overseas from certain countries, from those countries that have a certain religious belief, such as Muslims, or are they concerned about the colour of a person's skin? Is there a racist tone to all of that? I mean, I'm just rattling off a few ideas, Avery, because I'm not too sure myself.
Yeah, I think it could be a combination of all of them. I like what John Lee Bowles 8894 says. One nation is a grievance magnet.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I see that my son James has commented as well. The Overton window seems to be splitting, where people are moving further left and right, but not to the extremes.
Yes. So thanks, James, for that one too. I'll pop that up. So I mean, that's so true. That they move further. They are moving. So it's splitting where people are moving further left and right. Well, we can't see indications that they're moving left, but we certainly see indications that they're moving right. But are they moving, and that's a good point, are they moving to the extremes? So I don't know, what do we define as being the extremes? Are the extremes, the extremes would be Muslim, or the extreme on the left, I guess, would be, sorry, not Muslim. The extreme on the right would be Nazism, I guess, and it would be
Stalinism on the left.
Marxism on the left. Would that be right? Marxism would be on the left.
I would say Stalinism, which is a corrupt version of Marxism.
Yeah. So, well, I don't see us moving to the left. I see, and I could be wrong. I have been before. Are we moving? So thanks for that, Mr. Hilditch Jr.
JGB 870 has asked me, what's my thoughts on Keynesian economics? My thoughts on Keynesian economics is I don't have any because I don't understand it. But it's something that might be worth taking a look at, because then I can comment on it. And I'm not going to comment on something I don't understand.
Well, I studied it at university, but I can't remember a bloody thing about it, to be honest. So it's not on my radar, but I'll tell you what, Avery, have a look at it, investigate it, and come back next week, and we can you can answer that question.
I should be able to nail it down in a week, something like Keynesian economics with my economics.
So I want to take.
I want
to take this. Sorry, go on.
Say, John Lee Bowles had said that one nation is a grievance magnet, and James has come back, and he said it isn't a protest vote. He said Australia seems to be, to many, to be at risk of losing its national identity. It's not a racial issue; it's a cultural one.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to unpack there.
Anybody who says that if you criticize Islam, you're being racist. White people are Muslims, right? Dark brown people are Muslims. People with yellow skin are Muslims. Maybe there's some native indigenous American North America that are Muslims as well. I don't know. Islam is not a race; it's an ideology, just like Christianity is. It's an ideology. Yeah. It's something that exists in the head, right? It's the color of their skin is not a factor. So saying that if you criticize Islam, you're being racist is wrong right from the get-go.
Yeah, but it's like it's like saying it's the same argument, isn't it? That you could use around. It's the same argument though you could use around the IDF and Israel. That attacking them for the slaughter of innocent people in Gaza means that you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
is it it's the same argument?
It's exactly the same argument. And the thing that people say that you're anti-Semitic for criticizing Israel for what they're doing in Gaza is that the Arabs are Semitic people as well. So if you're anti-Semitic, you hate Arabs and Jews.
Oh, that must be confusing for some people.
Yeah.
So I just want to take out this point, though, that has been raised by John, that one nation is a grievance magnet. Because what that says to me also is that there are grievances in our community that people have. Yep. So I guess politically what you need to understand is, what are those grievances? Do we acknowledge that they exist? And do we present arguments that satisfy the grievance? So, for example, it's a great point, because if we take the grievance of immigration, which seems to be the pivotal point for one nation, would you agree with that, Avery? That pretty much it is.
What did she start with? It was
1996. She started with
it was the Chinese.
Asians. Yeah.
Asians.
So
okay. The Muslims.
Yeah. Well, it's a nice, comfortable place to be, isn't it? When you just transfer your racism from one race to the other, but the meaning is still the same. It's still racism.
As I said, Islam is not racism. Yeah. Anti-Islam is not racism.
So the question then is that if it is racism, there's basically no counter to that. Racism is racism, and you're going to, very profound, Tony, and you're going to have those sorts of ideas stuck in your mind forever, that they're not necessarily going to change regardless of what issue that you're presented with. If you're a Tommy Robinson of this world, you're going to be a racist through and through. But the question that he's asking, which is really relevant, is really about grievance. So what are the grievances that people have, and how can we best manage those grievances so that we can allay those fears to some extent and deal with whatever the real issue is? So with immigration, if it's about number of people coming into Australia, maybe one of the best ways, which the One Nation haven't done effectively at the moment, which is talk about how many people they think should come into Australia.
And
sorry, mate?
I haven't heard them give a number at all.
They're now saying around 120, 130,000, I think.
Yeah.
But that's only 20 or 30,000 less than what the government's saying should be the appropriate level.
Yeah.
As well. So, but then the government, I think, is real shitty at trying to persuade us to consider the reasons why we have immigration in the first place. You know, yeah. I don't think they're very good at telling us that we need immigration because we need skilled workers. These are the workers that we need. We need here, there, and everywhere. And the other thing too, of course, is around the grievance. Is also when a lot of people coming into our communities, then we can't afford to rent houses because for some reason I never understand this logic, but for some reason they're at the top of that list. And because they're at the top of the list, they get the houses first. Rentals first.
I've got a couple of answers to those. One is a really radical idea about needing skilled migrants. Why don't we boost the amount of dollars we're spending on education and train them here, right? Train Australians for the jobs that we need skilled people for. And as far as housing is concerned, why don't we say that if you live in a foreign country outside of Australia, you can't buy a house here?
Yes, but can we accept for a moment that perhaps we don't have enough people to do those jobs anyway, even if they were trained?
What's the?
We don't have enough.
We
are training people.
How many people?
TAFE is free for most of those trades.
For a lot, yeah, I know. But we don't just need people who get the things in TAFE. We need things like doctors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you don't get that in TAFE. So we bring.
I've
got no problem. The doctor I saw this morning, he happens to be a Muslim. I don't give a shit about his religion. He's a good doctor. My GP is a Muslim. He's a really good doctor. Right? I don't give a shit. But we've had to bring them in from Kuwait because we're not getting training. Not getting enough people here because it's so freaking expensive for them.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe also. We get a lot of people. We get a lot of people coming in from overseas who have got training as medical practitioners, but can't jump the hurdles we put in place for them to get their qualification here.
Yeah, I know. I know a few people like that here as well. There's a young lady that comes and cleans in my house because of the issues that Sasha's had. She's a registered nurse from India. Can't get a job here because she doesn't meet the requirements. But she could easily do the job.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
So I think there are hurdles like that I think are an issue.
Things like that need to be addressed.
So it's not just about, because one of the biggest problems is you can get skilled people to come to the country and people can tick all those boxes because they've got all the qualifications, but they don't meet the standards of the profession that they profess to represent. So as a result of all of that,
have you noticed? We're saying it's not about race, but have you noticed that the treatment of people who come from, say, who trained at the University of Mumbai or something like that, got medical qualifications, trained by people who might have studied here, got their qualifications here, but now they're teaching in Mumbai. Those people, their students, once they've graduated in the University of Mumbai, come here and they can't get a job. But those that went to the University of Toronto or Columbia University or Oxford, they come here, they get the job straight away. Yeah,
anybody though that comes from overseas still has to meet the qualification standards.
I know, but
regardless of where they were taught.
Sasha was trained in Toronto, and she put in her application to register as a nurse here, and it took about 4 days to get it signed through. There's a young lady.
I'm not going to sit here and explain because I don't know. I've never been party to that registration system. But I imagine that if you come from Oxford or Cambridge and you've got a medical degree, you still have to verify your qualifications and what you know in order to do the job that you say you're supposed to be doing.
You don't have to resit exams here in Australia.
I wouldn't have to resit an English exam.
No, probably. But if you've been trained, well, this is off topic, so we should leave it.
We could have a chat about it offline later.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, But this is off topic, what we're saying there.
Yeah,
there was a comment I saw there a minute ago. I should put my glasses back on.
And disappear off screen.
Yeah. It was from Heidi the Sausage. One that I thought was pretty good.
I'm going to put this up here so watch. So I really appreciate this one. So
it says, one nation will be forever tied to racism because of Pauline Hanson. It will be difficult to change. Pauline started attacking Asians. She started attacking Muslims. She pivoted to Muslims. If it wasn't Muslims, she'd be pivoting the Somalis or something like that.
Yeah,
that's what Heidi's suggesting.
So watch the space media, who I really like. Australia's national identity is based upon British imperialism, white supremacy through the White Australia policy, and losing fights on foreign wars like Gallipoli and Vietnam. These need changing. Well, I certainly agree that it's based on British imperialism. The notion, and I did a post earlier on actually on Andrew Bolt's latest racist splur, which really is about that notion about Australian imperialism and how inferior Indigenous people are. So that debate still continues. We've still got Pauline Hanson who turns her back on Welcome to Country when it's read out in the Senate, and probably doesn't turn her back when she does the Lord's Prayer. I'd be turning my back on the Lord's Prayer and facing up to it and facing the front when they do the Welcome to Country, because I think the Bible probably is just as insignificant as anything else, but the Welcome to Country is more significant in many ways because it represents Indigenous people.
If they're going to do the Lord's Prayer, why not do a Muslim prayer or a Hindu prayer?
Yeah. Why do we have to carry on the pseudo-Christian?
Because this country was founded by Christians who probably haven't read the Bible.
Yeah, let's debate for another time, Avery, which is your topic of expertise, I know. So just wondering whether there's other people here that could talk to us about their view on all of this. So Sandra says, Andrew Bolt is from South Africa, apartheid, so that explains him. Yeah, fair comment. I couldn't agree more.
Can I tell you a quick story about a South African?
You go for it, buddy. Sure time.
When I was working with BAE Systems, we were going to replace our Windows 98 PCs with Windows XP, and a team came in to do it, and I was introduced to this fellow who was from South Africa. I asked him how did he drink his coffee, and he said white, and I said it figures.
And
I got
and he remained a friend of yours, or he just
I got extremely well with him.
All right. Okay, we're coming to the end of our hour. Thanks for everybody who's contributed. At the moment, we've got 39 votes on whether the election of the One Nation candidates improve the lives of Australians, and we've got 90% no, 10% yes. I want that 10% to tell us how they're going to improve our lives. I'm a bit confused.
A question that came up very early on in this was, who is the SA leader for One Nation? Well, I've got One Nation South Australia on my computer right now, and I can't see who the leader is.
It has to be Corey Bernardi. It used to be Sarah Gain, but Sarah left One Nation, is now an independent.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I have met Sarah on a couple of occasions, and I really like her. Yeah, she's a vet, really nice woman.
A vet as in veterinarian, or a vet as in veteran?
She's too young to be a vet of anything. I guess she could be a defence vet, but anyway, no, she's a veterinarian, and I really like her. And she's a really nice woman. So I don't know where she's going to sit now. I guess she might. She didn't expect to get in. That's the irony of it all.
Yeah.
She got a phone call from the Australian Electoral Commission to tell her that she's won the vote and won enough votes to get the percentage required to get in. and she had no bloody idea. So that's the way it happens sometimes.
A lot of candidates here in South Australia.
Have they?
Yeah.
Now, that's the other thing too. This is harping back to our conversation earlier, Avery, is about who are those candidates. It was interesting that Pauline talked the other day about a candidate she'd elected, that she had nominated somewhere along the line, and they had some sort of a criminal history. I can't remember exactly what she said about them.
Drug peddling.
She was sort of, pardon?
Drug peddling, like a Liberal leader we know of.
Well, yeah, it might be. I don't know. I'm not going to make any statements about people that I don't know anything about. But anyway, she certainly made a statement about somebody which would have made them ineligible probably for standing. And I just need to raise this point about Pauline. Had Pauline not had not been successful in winning her case in 2003 against fraud, because she pocketed no, that's not true. It was election fraud. So it was about rigging and we know this, Avery, what this problem is with getting enough supporters registered.
Yeah.
Well, Pauline fraudulently put people down who weren't really registered for the party, which is a no-no. It has a 3-year term, prison term. And she got off on a technicality when she challenged it. She got 11 days in jail. Had that not happened, had she not been successful in getting that decision squashed, so the conviction was completely wiped out, she would not have been eligible to stand for Parliament. And as a result, we probably would have been a better country for it. But nevertheless, such is life, such is fortune and misfortune, I guess.
We could have, you say we could have been a better off for it. We might have had Senator Roberts leading the One Nation Party. And
no, I think One Nation
would that be better?
Because One Nation's Pauline Hanson. It might have been named another party like First Australia, Advance, all these other organisations. So it could have been something else, I guess, that could have taken up the mantle. But she would never have run.
No.
But she would never run a party from the back seat.
No,
just wouldn't have happened because it's all about Pauline at the end of the day.
No.
So. Okay, we're over our hour. Any final words, Avery, before we part?
It looks like I've got some studying to do to find out what Keynesian economics is all about. But other than that, no.
Okay, and we just want to thank those people, Homemade, Sandra, and somebody else for
James
contributing to Avery's retirement fund. It is greatly.
I've got a retaining wall I've got to pay for. I mean, I've paid for it, but I need to get the money back. And now I've got a fence I've got to replace as well. So,
right. So it's all mounting up for Avery. So please think of him if you want to contribute some funds to our chats. We really appreciate it. So thanks everybody for being with me. And Avery, thanks again for also being a part of the conversation. There's many other things we could talk about, but we'll keep them over for next week.
Next week.
3:00 on a Thursday.
Yep.
Okay, everybody, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, make sure that you're keeping you and your family safe. See you then.